All right, we are back on Sports Bit Betting Insight today, Tuesday, December 20th. Pauly and Teddy, big game breakdown. We'll get to the bowls. Colorado State, Idaho, Old Dominion, Eastern Michigan, and Louisiana Tech and Navy. Jimmy Vaccaro in the deep dive. A $250,000 moneyline parlay. We'll get to that and another play of the day. We look to stay red hot, another winner last night. Bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books, bad bet. The Redskins bet up from 4.5 to 7. A ton of drop passes. Hopkins missed an extra point. Reed kicked out of the game for throwing a punch. The Redskins now 1-16 since 1998 on Monday Night Football home games. Incredible. Panthers, they've showed up the last 2 weeks. No Kiki, still get the win.
Yeah, but it's your classic scenario of the team that has nothing to play for playing loose and the team that has must win, everything to play for, playing tight. And you're going to see that. You're going to see that. It's not unusual what we saw last night. It's not unusual to see the markets react, saying the must-win team, they got to win. The other team's got nothing to play for. They're professionals. It's not about having something to play for. Carolina was better than Washington last night. Clearly. I mean, it really wasn't that close. The Redskins, they clinched up a little bit tight there. And it's a loss. That's probably going to doom their playoff chances.
Yep. Well, they're going to need some help now. But we said if they won out yesterday on the show, they were in. And they had nothing coming out of the gate. By the way, if you're in the media, cut that out. They control their own destiny. It's a predetermined set of events. If it's predetermined, you can't control it. You guys know better than that. The bowl game, bad bet. Central Michigan, oh man, 55-10 Tulsa, never in doubt.
It wasn't that close.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't. It was 55-3, and Central scored a late TD. And Tulsa, the entire second half, or sure, the entire fourth quarter, Tulsa's like, hey, hand it off, hand it off. I mean, Tulsa could have won that game by whatever they wanted to.
Did you see the end?
When the game didn't go over the total? You mean the worst beat of the day?
Oh, the Central Michigan coach is calling timeouts on defense with a minute left, and Tulsa took a knee on fourth down.
As they should have.
What are you doing? Get the hell out of there. You're getting your ass kicked. He called 3 timeouts on defense in the final 2 minutes as Tulsa was in the red zone. And you're right, they just took it easy on him. Yeah.
I mean, impressive win for Tulsa. Good year for the Hurricane. That program is at a level that we haven't seen them in more than a decade. And as for Central, rough back half of the season for the Chippewas. If you bet Central Michigan, there were a lot of people that did, as you mentioned, plus 13.5, down to plus 12. There are even plus 11s out there on game day. Sometimes laying doubles in a bowl game is the right thing to do.
Another bad bet, the Pistons. Van Gundy called it disgusting. They were down 69-34 at the half against the Bulls.
And they took a ton of money. Some of my money was on Detroit last night. They were plus 4 down to plus 2. There was a big story, okay? First, the Chicago side, where it's 3 losses in a row. The Bucks wipe them out. You don't like the tea leaves for Chicago. I'm not liking the quotes that I'm reading out of Chicago. And then you see Detroit. They had a players-only meeting after their last loss and saying it's now or never time. Put up or shut up. They basically
they sucked. It was horrible.
Yeah.
No show.
It's a type of loss that you maybe want to pay attention to Detroit right now.
Yep.
The transition back to Reggie Jackson at the point guard hasn't played out well thus far. They were doing better with Ish Smith, even though they had a negative plus-minus with him on the floor.
Mavs now 7-21 on the season. I know they have a ton of injuries, but they got beat on the road. They hit a 3 late to lose by 10.
Yeah, and I mean, Dallas is going to get much healthier in the next couple of weeks. Dirk Nowitzki's supposed to be back before the end of the year. Jose Barea is supposed to be back before the end of the year. They do have some bodies coming back, but when you're 7-21, you're in the Western Conference. Honestly, their season's probably over already.
Yes, and look at this. There's a bad bet. Duke bet up to 28 against Tennessee State at home. This was a 1-point game late in the first half.
Yeah, I mean, like the markets, I'm not convinced. I honestly don't know what the markets were looking at because there was a ton of Duke money. I think the excitement that Harry Giles was going to make his debut, he played 4 minutes. He had zeros across the board. He did have 1 shot attempt, but no points, no rebounds, no assists, no steals, no block. I mean, he was in the complete non-factor. And you know what? When you're talking about the better academic institutions, the Stanfords, the Dukes, those type of schools, the exams matter for those guys, you know? And, of course, they already played Kansas, Michigan State, UNLV in Vegas. They played Penn State, Rhode Island, a top 25 team in Florida. I guess Tennessee State didn't get him that excited, if you believe that Luke Kennard quote, Pauly.
You want me to read it?
Yeah, sure.
All right, let me bring it up. Quote, "This game was a learning experience for us. We can't take anything for granted. We got to play each other in every game like it's the biggest game of the year. I don't think we were ready to play. Our energy wasn't there. Our enthusiasm wasn't there. And we just didn't really have one guy that's bringing us all the energy. We really needed that tonight," end quote. And you'll see a lot of this as it continues until we get in some of these marquee matchups coming up. NFL early.
Yeah, well, let me just jump in real quick, because college hoops the next 2 weeks is landmines. Landmines all over the place. Beware. You're going to see plenty of really good teams like Duke last night come out flat as a pancake with smaller crowds, dealing with exams. You're going to see teams that you were shocked get upset, and it's going to happen more than once over the course of the next couple of weeks between now and the start of conference play.
Some early week line movers in the NFL. It's a bit of a surprise. They're betting the Eagles at home Thursday night against the G-Men in that nasty defense.
Yeah, I mean, Philadelphia's played hard. Let's give them credit. I'm not shocked that we're seeing Philadelphia money, but moving it off of 3, Eagles +3 down to 2.5 versus the G-Men.
And Bills, it's always been a horror show for Miami and Buffalo.
Yeah, and Bills, and a lot of Bills money. -3 up to -4 against the Dolphins. Lots of under money coming in early week as well. Off the bat, the under 44 down to 42. The market's saying, Matt Moore, you did it last week?
Yeah.
I don't think you can do it 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, and plenty of Patriots money going against the Jets at home. And I'm a little bit surprised that you saw some Minnesota money in Lambeau after the no-show at home against the Colts.
Well, remember, we saw a lot of wise guy money coming against Green Bay last week. There was nothing but Chicago money from the Sharps in that game. And the week before, was at the game at home against Houston, there was like, as soon as it hit 7, boom, the Sharps were all over betting against the Packers. In that. So I don't want Minnesota, but there are bettors out there that are doing it. You know, when you talk about early week line moves, you're not talking about public. You're only talking about wise guys, setting up numbers, setting up markets the way they want. Well, they've got Green Bay down to 6.5 right now, with the first bets coming on Minnesota.
Yeah, big game for the Titans on the road against Jacksonville. It's Doug Marrone taking over. Money coming on the Titans.
Yeah. Hey, we saw Jags money last week. They covered.
Yeah, should have won a game. Yep.
Exactly. But again, Tennessee, their statistical profile is legitimately impressive. And, of course, winning the game on the road with the -2 turnover differential in Kansas City, they're getting market respect up to 4.5 from 3.5 at Jacksonville.
Yes, and they're betting the Rams at home against the 49ers. I mean, Vegas is laughing at you. Cleveland and San Francisco combined the last 8 games, 1-15 ATS.
Yeah, and really, when you talk about the very simplest strategies for beating football, bet against bad teams. You know, and Cleveland and San Fran have been the 2 worst teams in the NFL in my power ratings and everybody's power ratings all year long. And if you just did nothing more than bet against these 2 teams, you're 15-1 against the number over the last 8 weeks. That's insane. We did all this handicapping, all this figuring it out. The simplest strategies right there in front of us has paid off everybody over the course of the last 2 months.
Saints went up and down the field in a shootout to beat Arizona on the road. Arizona now goes to Seattle, and Seattle's up to a 9-point favorite. Little movement on the total. And they're betting against Tom Savage Saturday night. How can they do that?
Yeah, let's start with the Seahawks. Remember, I'm not going to necessarily call it a revenge game, but the last time these 2 teams met, it was 6-6 tie in 75 minutes of the ugliest football you've ever seen at the NFL level. A defensive struggle, let's just put it that way. But early money on Seattle, significant money. Now, the move from 7 to 9, there's some quote-unquote teaser protection in that. There are plenty of books out there that don't hang 8 or 8.5. They go straight from 7.5 up to 9. Those books have all done that, not trying to get teased with Seattle. Of course, total in that game, 44 down to 43. And yeah, they're betting against the Tom Savages, Cincinnati money.
Crazy.
Even though the Bengals gave it away last week, +3 down to +2 against Houston.
Yeah, Osweiler out. All of a sudden, Hopkins has 8 catches. Incredible. The late game on Christmas. This is bad. Denver money doesn't make any sense. They're yelling at each other. Kubiak had to get in the middle of the offensive line and the defensive fighting. Shouting match. I understand the money on the total as well, though. It's going to be cold. And, Denver has not gone against the 85 Bears the last 2 games. The Patriots and the Titans, and they scored a combined 13 points. All
right. Total is 37.5 down from 38. But, Pauly, don't fall for this silliness. The media, remember, every day they need a story. You're a beat writer, you need a story every single day. All right? No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So there's a brawl in the locker room. And we're not talking about a brawl where guys are throwing punches. We're talking about guys who are frustrated after a couple of losses.
Why are they showing up? Why are they showing? They just won the Super Bowl. Why are they going to show up? They're out of the playoffs.
Are they eliminated officially? Of course not.
They're not showing up for that game.
Let's put it this way.
They can't run the ball. They stink.
The sharp money is saying Denver's showing up this week. 4.5 down to 4 at KC.
I don't agree with
that. Early week money is on the Broncos.
I don't agree with that at all. The Cowboys-Lions, good game, Monday Night Football. Total goes up here.
Yeah, 41.5 up to 43. Markets are thinking Matthew Stafford, after facing the Giants' elite defense, going to have an easier time against the Cowboys' somewhat suspect stop unit.
Up next, big game breakdown. 3 bowl games to go over with Christian Slater and Richard Belzer on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.
Go to SBROdds.com. Browse, compare, and shop live odds available at top online sportsbooks.
Back on SportsBit, Pauly and Teddy, Betting Insight today, SBRPicks.com. Here we go. Live odds, go to SBRPicks.com. Big game breakdown. First bowl game, Colorado State and Idaho. Idaho Potato Bowl, Thursday, 4 o'clock Pacific. Colorado State 13-65 the total. Not a great home field advantage or a home advantage for Idaho. Boise, 300 miles from campus. They also play and practice indoors, so they may struggle with the bad weather. Idaho came from nowhere. 6-29 in Paul Petrino's first 4 seasons, dropping back down to FCS in 2018. Nothing expected from them this year. And they actually beat UNLV, too, on the road.
Yeah, I mean, look, you make a number of interesting points there. Let me start with this one. I've heard a couple of different people tell me, oh, Idaho, they're playing at home. No, they're not. They're 300 miles from home. And it's not like the Vandals even sell out the Kibbe Dome, okay, in Moscow. There's not a huge, I mean, they probably have more fans in Boise than they do in Moscow. But to say this is going to be a huge pro-Idaho crowd, I'm not buying it. And, of course, when you're an indoor team and now you're playing outdoors, that's no home field advantage for Idaho. I didn't give them anything for the home field here. But, I mean, Paul Petrino, a guy who spent his entire career under his brother Bobby's shadow. He's been his offensive coordinator in multiple stops. You know, couldn't get a job. Idaho's like, you want a job? I think his dad coached there back in the day. And, all right, let's give it a go. And they go 6-20. I mean, there's a hopeless program. You know, they're dropping back down to FCS. But what happens? Yeah, all of a sudden, this season, they click. They beat, as you mentioned, UNLV on the road. They get to a bowl game. It's meaningful for these kids, but it's not a team with any experience in these type of situations before, and they're going to go against what I consider to be the best team from the Mountain West, even though they didn't play in the Mountain West title game.
Well, certainly down the stretch, that was the case. They blew out San Diego State on the road. They blew out New Mexico. They beat those teams by 50 points in the last 2 games. Turnaround was keyed by Nick Stevens, all conference in 2015. Struggled early, got benched. But when Hill was injured, he got the job back and played great. 14 touchdowns versus 1 interception over the final 6 games. Come on.
Yeah, and you talk about the 2 teams they just beat by 50 in the last 2 games of the season, San Diego State and New Mexico. Both of those teams won their bowl games last Saturday. And boy, you read the news out of Fort Collins. Colorado State's taking this game very seriously. Junior running back Dalen Dawkins is extremely important to make sure we finish the season strong on a high note and make sure we carry this winning streak on to next season. We're looking at it as a championship game. It's the last opportunity this season, the game with these seniors. We want to send them off on the right note. And of course, you know, this is this team finished their exams last Thursday. They've done nothing but practice for a full week, and they're calling it the most important practice of the year. It's a team that lost their bowls each of the last 2 seasons. From all indications, Colorado State is coming to play. Quote, we've been rolling, so we want to finish with the same type of intensity.
Yes, we'll get back to this game coming up with Play of the Day. Eastern Michigan, Old Dominion. Remember, liveoddsportsbookreview.com. Bahamas Bowl, Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific. ODU 4-65 the total. Big deal for Chris Creighton. His 3rd year at Eastern Michigan. How about this? The 5th-year seniors went 2-10, 2-10, 2-10, and 1-11. But they're not just happy to be there. They're excited. They want to win this one.
Yeah, but I mean, with Idaho, okay, with Eastern Michigan, teams that coming into the season, the coaches talking bowl and the players are like, yeah, whatever. And they win a couple of games. And now, all of a sudden, hideous program. I mean, Eastern Michigan, this is a hopeless program. Okay, hopeless. There's 9 miles from Ann Arbor. They don't get any of the good recruits in state, go everywhere but Ypsilanti. There's no fan base. It's not, this is the best they can hope for. And they get to go to the Bahamas, I mean, the biggest question for me in this game is not who the better team is. I could care less who the better team is. It's who gets distracted more in the Bahamas. Now, Ypsilanti in December is a long, long way from the Bahamas. Not like Norfolk isn't, but I think Ypsilanti's a little bit further, if you know what I mean. Mentally, it's the days are short and it's cold.
Old Dominion, a nice turnaround here with this program.
Well, yeah, I mean, and of course they played Eastern Michigan 2 years ago. They won 17-3. They were 20.5 home favorites. And then they beat them again last year, 38-34, -6 on the road. So we're not talking blowouts. They beat them by 14 and they beat them by 4. It's competitive. And now, I mean, this program, there's upside here. They were consistently an FCS playoff team before they moved up to the FBS level. And of course, they're 66-30 under Bobby Wilder. We're talking about a team where all 8 of their conference wins came by double-digit margins, Pauly. Of course, when you have a QB like David Washington, converted wide receiver, but talking about 28 touchdowns versus only 4 interceptions, they're not going to beat themselves. And of course, the running back Ray Lowry, back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. I'm not convinced Eastern Michigan has the defense to shut down the ODU Monarchs.
One more here. Live odds, sportsbookreview.com. Armed Forces Bowl, Friday, 1:30 Pacific. Louisiana, here's some steam. Louisiana Tech against Navy. Louisiana Tech up to 6 as we tape this, 67 the total. The problem with Navy being the American Athletic Conference, this will be the 14th game in 17 weeks on top of one of the toughest academic regimens of any team. They changed up the mostly read option against Army with Zach Abbey's first start at quarterback. He's the 3rd string now with all the injuries, and he didn't show anything, and they struggled. I think they only had 8 first downs in that game.
Yeah, and of course, we're talking about a Navy team. Their season's already gone south in a big hurry. When you talk about what happened at the end of the campaign, they get blown out of the conference championship game. They lose their starting quarterback. They lose their captain at running back. And then they got Army the next week, and they got a 15-game winning streak or 14-game winning streak against Army, and they lose that game. And now, again, it's not like they had this long break after the Army game. They played a week after everyone else. This is a relatively early bowl game. So you're tired. You're down to a 3rd-string quarterback. One of your captains is gone. Your season's gone south. I know that Louisiana Tech doesn't have an easy game plan against Navy, because who knows what Navy's going to do as you changed up. You talk about they changed up the game plan against Army. But, boy, I mean, I know that it's not easy for the Bulldogs to game plan against them, but I'm not convinced. And Navy, they're going to show that the team's got heart, but I'm not convinced the Navy has an A game to give us at this stage of the campaign.
And I'll tell you another thing. If they fall behind early, it's curtains, because that kid cannot throw the ball.
Yeah.
Horrible. Now, as far as Louisiana Tech, is a great quarterback play, a great wide receiver play. Ryan Higgins, 4,200 yards, 37 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, or the wide receivers. Look at this. Trent Taylor with his numbers, 1,500 yards, 10 touchdowns. Carlos Henderson, 1,400 yards and 17 touchdowns. They run it too. Jared Kraft, 1,000 yards, 5.8 yards per carry with 9 touchdowns. Potent offense.
Yeah, and of course, Louisiana Tech with their disappointing end to the season. Remember, they had a chance to play the championship game on their home field. Instead, they lost the final week, played on Western Kentucky's home field. That didn't work out well, especially at the end of that ball game where they kind of fell apart late and allowed the Hilltoppers to get the cover. So now they've got their chance for redemption. But as you mentioned, this is the steam play of the week so far. It's been nothing but Louisiana Tech money. And I'll tell you what, if you like the Bulldogs, I think we may see more. This line has a chance to go up to -7.
Jimmy Vaccaro with the deep dive. How'd the players do? How'd the tough one for the books on Sunday? We'll run it down with Jimmy and tell you about a huge moneyline parlay, their bowl contest as well. And they have the title matchups out for college football, plus the play of the day. All coming up on SportsBit, Betting Insight today on SBRpicks.com.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SBR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.
All right, back on SportsBit, 5 great minutes with Jimmy Vaccaro. If you're ever in Las Vegas, stop in and see him at the South Point and follow him on Twitter at Jimmy Vaccaro, bookmaker for over 40 years. Let's start here where the event bettor got you again with the huge moneyline parlays in the NFL.
Yeah, and it seems like they got everybody in town to enact with these moneyline parlays and these teaser bets, as we've been talking about for the past year, Pauly. It's like a new wave of betting. It's a new understanding of like what they want to take advantage of, and obviously I think they've outsmarted the bookmakers to some extent. Yeah, our parlay moneyline guy got us pretty good again. He absolutely he put the 5 teams together and they all won relatively easy. He had a few sweats. He bet $250,000, and he keyed Seattle and he keyed the Atlanta Falcons. With those 2 games, he really had no trouble. The only sweat that he had on a couple, naturally, were the Packers. With once again, Aaron Rodgers outsmarts everybody by throwing the ball deep, knowing it might be the last play of the game, and the least they can do is go into overtime. And they got us there. And could have went either way. They had the Ravens. You saw the 2-point conversion at the end, which failed by the Eagles. But like I said, he picked it up, but there was a lot of teaser play. So all in all, it was a bad Sunday for us. But once again, it was an exciting Sunday, and I can't tell people, and I'm sincere about this, don't stop betting these things, because you've been punished enough to know that if something's good, take advantage of it. Although when you bet these huge money line parlays, you must come in with a lot of money. There's no sense betting a 4-teamer where you're laying 4, 5, 6, 8 to 1, and you're betting $200. I mean, these people come with a lot of money, and that's the only way that you can play those. But they got there fair and square, and they got paid off.
Well, there's nothing you can do. I mean, you look at the Browns, the Rams, and the 49ers. Forget about winning the game. They can't even get the money.
No, I can't fault that, and obviously, we adjust as much as you can, but the money line to them is just like a baseball game, no matter what you go to. Now, let's say if you had a game 4 and you made it 7, well, obviously if they wanted to lay the 7, they got into disadvantage, but because they can't lose. But in the sense of a money line bet, even though we're obviously jacking up those prices, it's like baseball. All we have to do is pick the winner. Doesn't matter, like the Ravens, winning right at the end, or Seattle or Atlanta getting off to those big leads early. So that's the attraction. You're just picking the winner of the game, no matter, what we make you pay for it. But, hey, it's working, and this guy's front pretty good. But I'll bet my good friend there, Mr. Pauly Howard, that he shows up on Wednesday morning to start betting it all over again, and I really can't blame him.
Oh, so it was a bad Sunday. How was Saturday with the bowl games?
Saturday was okay. Our biggest bowl win, that was San Diego State, and that youngster really played a hell of a game after the first quarter. And we got back on track here. College basketball was good, and so it was a weekend where, other than the Sunday, which we obviously got taken out pretty good, it wasn't bad at all. And what the football did, with all the bowl games, it just creates buzz and action, and people bet a lot of probably extra basketball because they're watching the football. But once you turn the Duke game on, the Kentucky game on, Kentucky and North Carolina, it just gives you a reason to make another bet. And, they got us pretty good there, and that was probably one of the best individual games I've ever seen in basketball college, and I've seen quite a bit of them with that youngster scoring 47.
Yeah, that was fantastic to watch. I tell you, I think UCLA's got to be good for business, right? Because they score 100 a game.
Oh, absolutely, and I surely didn't see this coming from the beginning of the year. The little that I caught up with my blue ribbon and whatever, I knew it was going to be better, but no, I didn't know that they would be in control as much as they have. Anytime you get a West Coast team that has an attraction to begin with, they'll have to build some attraction up, Pauly. They've been off the radar for the past 5 to 10 years, but it was a good sign, and I like that. And what it does, again, is that it props up your Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday college games if a good West Coast team is playing. You seem to write between 10 and 20% more than you would normally do if they're just a blasé late evening game at the books here in Las Vegas.
So you have your bowl contest that's underway at the South Point, but you're getting a lot of business and generating a lot of buzz with your potential title game matchups in college football.
Yeah, the jackpot parlay cards, obviously it starts on the 30th, $25,000. Pick the winner, no point spreads involved. That's always kind of fun, and that's basically more for the locals. And we have right, a lot of business so far in the possible matchups. And here's where we are right now. We have Alabama 7.5 over Ohio State, Alabama 11.5 over Clemson, Ohio State 4.5 over Washington, and Clemson 3 over Washington. Now, those are the numbers we have right now. We were as high as 6 on Washington, getting 6 over Ohio State. That number's tumbling down pretty good. The other ones just actually been great two-way action. And it's a great buzz. And it's a great like let's get started with this championship round weekend. But once again, the biggest move was on Washington, where we had them 6-point dog, and they're down to 4.5. But anything that you can do that creates interest, creates buzz, it's good for the books, it's good for the industry, it's good for everybody involved in it.
Yes. Great job, my friend. Merry Christmas. We'll talk to you next week.
Do your research before you bet. Check out our ratings guide to see which books have the best ratings and sign-up bonuses. Open up several accounts. Shop for lines at sbrodds.com. Always be ahead of the game.
Back on SportsBit, thanks to Jimmy Vaccaro. Good job there. But the South Point, bookmaker for over 40 years and putting up some of the title matchups in college football already. Money time, play of the day, winner last night with the Panthers. 39-21 on the football season. Let's keep it going. Back to the Bulls. Teddy, back to Colorado State, Idaho.
Yeah, let's give them another one. If we're running good with football, obviously 39-21. Pretty good record so far this season with the play of the day. You get it every day right here on SportsBit. Let's go to Thursday. What is it? Idaho Potato Bowl?
Yeah, you got it.
I don't care what they're called. This is what I care. Colorado State, number 219, minus the 13. Let's get it now. As we saw yesterday with Tulsa, when it's a mismatched games, you can lay double digits in a bowl game. Let's do it here. Give me the Rams, Colorado State, minus the 13. That's our play of the day.
All right, awesome, fun show. Back Wednesday. Sneak in a little NFL, more bowls. Big show coming up this week. And happy holidays out there. We'll see you then on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.